Yes. So this puts us in the wow of now of two special people that we have met along the path, along the dementia journey. I can't even remember exactly how we met Sam, but I even managed to make it to Sam's and Susan's home in Washington, D.C., and have dinner with them, all because of Zoom, right? Really, it's so amazing how we all come together. And so we'd like to introduce now one of our care pairs.
Yes, care
A
pairs.
care pair that embodies, embraces this kind of philosophy of how we can navigate a little lighter and a little brighter through the dark rooms, finding a light switch again, and carrying on the best we can. So we're going to introduce Susan and Sam Simon. They do live in DC, and just a little bit about their love story. They did meet when they were 16. Oh, little sweethearts. See how things come together. Yes. And they had attended a youth group and they noticed each other. Yeah. Wow. Sam, talk about that. And then 3 years later, they had their first date. And then in August 23, oh, your anniversary is coming up, 1966, they were married. And Susan's from Houston, Texas. Have any other Texans in the group? And Sam graduated from college, and for her it was 1966, and for Sam, when he graduated, it was 1967. Susan had graduated early to work as a teacher and help pay bills. Way to go, Susan. I love those bill pairs. Very good. While Sam finished school, always supporting each other. Sam went to law school and Susan went on to get her master's in special education and later a certificate in elder care. That comes in handy.
Convenient, huh?
Yes.
Speak of preparation.
And then they moved to McLean, Virginia, where Sam became a Ralph Nader lawyer and worked in consumer and public affairs for about 40 years, working for the consumer. Yes, how cool is that? Then Susan taught school and the public schools for 14 years. Oh, thank you for that, Susan. I'm sure there's children that still talk about you. And became director of admissions and marketing for Tall Oaks in Reston, Virginia, which is an assisted living facility. Susan has skills. Yes. Both have changed their professional profiles over the year. Sam has become an actor, a playwright, and an author. And his first play is called The Actual Dance, Love's Ultimate Journey, through breast cancer, and then a book version of the play. He has debuted the new play, Dementia Man, an existential journey about his life with early stage Alzheimer's disease. Susan retired from working in the professional caregiver world, and now has assumed the role of partner for Sam in his journey now. I think they're both lucky to have one another.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. And they share this love of this long relationship and support of one another with their 2 adult children and their 4 grandchildren. And so we'd like to interview them today or bring out more of their amazing journey. And Nancy is going to interview Sam, and I'm going to interview Susan.
Wonder how we picked it that way, don't
that
you wonder? Well, we're so glad to have you here and speaking as a couple and as an individual that is living with diagnoses that have changed. And we wish we could delve way into all of this, but unfortunately we are on time. but tell us about your diagnosis and how you first wanted to go or thought you needed to go, and the actual diagnosis, if you will.
So, in retrospect, I should have known much earlier. I've often heard the idea that an overeducated, usually man, overreacts to normal aging. But I had started talking to my internist about concerns on my memory, again, sort of put off. Some thought I was having some, mild depression, and it was given some of that for a while. But then I started having some rather dramatic incidents, like driving on the wrong side of the road, losing cognitive awareness as I was driving. And Susan was noticing bigger changes. And I experienced something just enough to say I was experiencing what I call a black wall in my head. It scared me. I didn't know what it was. Finally convinced my internist to refer me to a neurologist. And I've had what I've learned a bit is a fairly typical, not very great neurological experience. I took the neuropsychological test and was designated, you mentioned you two, Nancy, that I'm mildly cognitively impaired. I've learned that means that I'm below par for my demographic and age and everything else. My neurologist, who received that information and met with us, basically said, well, too bad. The good news, we don't see anything. Your brain doesn't seem to be bad. But then we asked him what it meant. He said, well, it's just going to get worse. Now I got it. And he left and didn't even schedule a new appointment. So I've since been able to go to Georgetown, the Georgetown Hospital. It's a terrific memory center. They have been trying to get me into drug trials, and I am in a drug trial, but the most important thing, they were able to get me a PET scan with contrast, because there's a program where the feds pay for money for everybody for these memory places to get a trial ready cohort. So they found that I am amyloid positive, which means Alzheimer's disease. And so that's how I was diagnosed. The process was disturbing. And the journey is, what does it mean for us? And it took a while. We struggled. I looked for answers. I found, I don't know if people know Mary Fridley and the East End Institute. I think that's how we got to know Helen, who's on the call, because we were just searching for stuff. It's very, I like to say we found you guys, we found the Ruvo Center, we found Dementia Friendly Nevada. And we live in McLean, Virginia, and you are the best resource we can find here. And I would just say that I was struggling, so I was still doing this other play. I wrote the book, I was marketing the book during this process. But you're trying to figure out what to do next step. And I was lucky, I have a theatrical cohort, people who work in the business who knew me, and they really encouraged me to write something. And I want to say writing about it and then doing a play. Everybody can write. It doesn't have to be a play. It could be just somebody, just write. You did poetry. It has helped me immensely. It's given me new purpose in the face of what would be a terminal disease. So that's sort of from a really terrible moment in a neurologist's office to we have a different neurologist, and I'm in a drug trial, and I'm doing something that gives me meaning.
And yes, and the feeling of tell us about the feeling. I mean, it's a big deal what you've done, and you have struggled through in some cases, and then just walked through in cases, and what is it that made you continue on? Because it's that continuing on that gets us, keeps us viable and vibrant for longer.
I just want to say, that, I mean, you all touched on it when you started, because my first work and stuff were motivated by the fact that Susan's breast cancer was really dire, and the doctors assured me she was not going to survive. And I had to screw up my courage and I ended up writing my first play and a book and toured that hundreds of times. And so something I never could imagine, which turned out to be good. Now she survived, but there was something found. So in some ways, look, we have to make the best of whatever happens in life. And it's not easy. And it's easy to go into the dark places. But this work has enabled me to find, because mainly the two things, the audience reactions. And I just finished the Capitol Fringe and we did talkbacks. And I learned so much from stories of other people and their reactions and everything we all do, not just me. There are gifts in it.
Right.
And I had a friend I hadn't seen in a long time, came up after the play. His wife has advanced cognitive impairment. And he said, I understand her better now because I came to watch this play.
Nice.
Now, I couldn't imagine that. I didn't expect it. And it's not that I'm so special, but I have seen that in arts. I love the arts. I did a little theater when I was in, high school and the like, and I've done improv. I'm professionally trained in theatrical improv, but this work, storytelling in theater for others is so, I've learned it's a beautiful, I'm lucky to be able to do it.
Yes, and we're lucky to know you and to be a recipient of all that you do. We want to thank you for that.
Yes, and we want to highlight the heroine journey next to you.
Yes.
And that's part of Dangle and Dot's kind of feeling that it does take two of us. It takes the support and the care and the love of our wonderful care partner. And so, Susan, you already are a heroine, surviving your own challenge. Yes, right. And then how could you apply what you learned to Sam and his diagnosis especially at the time of diagnosis when you get that news?
Well, the first thing is when he's telling his story about the diagnosis, and he says this in the play, when we get in the car, the first thing I said is, we need a second opinion. And, this is just not how it's supposed to happen, nor was this person a doctor that I thought even should be in the profession, having worked with numerous doctors and gerontologists and other things. So, I said, it's a journey, like you said. I went through a journey, and throughout that journey, I said, we have to be positive. And if anybody is negative, I do not want them around. And I think that was deep instilled in Sam. He knew that I was going to keep trying very, very hard to keep him positive. And that's been what we've been doing on the journey. Just constantly, if there's a bad day, I just say, okay, it's a bad day. Tomorrow might be different. And you talk about gratitude. That's something that we talk a lot about. And when we get up in the morning and so forth, we say to each other, we're lucky to get up and we can go to the gym. I make him go to the gym every morning so to work out and keep healthy. And I do a diet, for us. We eat a lot of the fruits and vegetables and the mind fruits. And I researched that so that each thing we found that was positive, we could incorporate into our life.
And this is exactly what we were talking about with the wow of now. Look at everything it's taken for Susan and Sam to be here today.
and are here in the form that they are, I'm convinced, because they've taken an active participation in their own health. I mean, it's real easy to go to a doctor, hold out your hand, and they'll put something in it that is supposed to make us feel better. And I'm not saying don't ever do that. I'm just saying that it takes the combination, if not just ourselves, to fight a little bit against what we're hearing and delve into it and understand it and face the fear of it.
Right. And I love how you express something didn't land right with that first diagnosis, right? So what do we need? A second opinion. You knew in your gut that was not correct. And to follow those instincts.
And you've always said, I get from you, that picking the right doctor is really what we need to be careful to do, because there are so many out there that are so willing to hand you a script and send you off maybe when what we need to do is something altogether.
The one other thing, two quick things. First of all, we are so lucky. It'll be 57 years.
Next month.
Next month. I know not everybody gets to have the relationship, but to have unquestioning deep relationship and love with a partner is a blessing, and we're very, very, very lucky to have that, because period, hard stop. And I'm going to forget the next very important point I was going to make.
Right place.
We allow you to come back later and go, oh yeah.
But that was good enough.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
The love is truly apparent, I'm sure, to everyone, and the resilience factor.
Yeah, because it hasn't always been easy.
We know that.
Yeah,
it's not easy to support one another. And Sam, you go out and do your plays and write and send emails. Remind me of somebody beside me with that extra little bit of action. Yes, and as you have taught us very well,
we
say yes, we have dementia, and we're going to do this.
Yes.
We have to make the best of the hand we're dealt, and it is not easy. I want to acknowledge that, and that makes you more brave, but it is what we need to work on. So thank you.
Yes. So speaking of the hand that you're dealt, since we live in Vegas.
Am I gonna pick a card?
No, we're picking it for you.
Okay.
Oh, because I was gonna pick the card.
I think these are all good ones. I think we definitely today have a Queen of Hearts.
That would be, yes.
And we definitely have a King of Hearts.
That's true too, Mr. Sam.
And we all have an ace.
Oh, I swore that was gonna be a joker.
We did put one in the deck, just in case. Well, the joke, I have a fun one somewhere. I don't know. We do have a joker because that's the dementia part. Oh,
thank you.
Thank
for
you.
sharing.
Thank you guys for dangle&dot and for everything you guys do.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and being here.
Yes.